What we know about the deadly Halloween disaster in Seoul, South Korea CNN. Most weekends, the narrow alleys of Itaewon, the neon-lit nightlife district in South Korea's capital Seoul, are busy with the party-goers and tourists. Now is the site of one of the country's worst disasters. On Saturday night, tens of thousands of people flooded into the area in central Seoul to celebrate Halloween, but panic erupted as the crowd swelled, with some witnesses saying it became hard to breathe and impossible to move. Through Sunday, the number of dead climbed to 154, with dozens more injured. Authorities have now launched an urgent investigation to find out how what was supposed to be a night of celebrations went so horribly wrong as families across the country mourn and search for missing loved ones. Why were the crowds so big? Itaewon has long been a popular place to celebrate the Halloween, especially as the holiday became more popular in Asia in recent years. Some even fly into Seoul from other countries in the region for the festivities. But for the past 2 years, celebrations were muted by pandemic restrictions on crowd size and mask mandate. Saturday night marked the first Halloween since the country lifted these restrictions, lending in particular significance for many eager participants in Seoul as well as international visitors, including foreign residents and tourists. Hotels and tickets event in the neighborhood had been booked solid in advance, and large crowds were expected. What happened? Witnesses told CNN there was very little, if any, crowd control before the mass of people turned deadly. Videos and photos posted to social media showed the people crammed together, standing shoulder to shoulder in the narrow street. Crowds are not unusual for that area, or for Seoul residents who are used to jam-packed subways and streets in the city of almost 10 million. One eyewitness said it took some time for people to realize that something was wrong, with people's panicked screams competing with the music blaring from the surrounding clubs and bars. Onlookers, police, and paramedics gather in the popular nightlife district of Itaewon in Seoul on October 2022. After the first emergency calls from came in around 10:24 p.m., authorities rushed to the scene, but the sheer volume of people made it difficult to reach those who needed help. Video posted to social media showed people performing compressions on other partygoers lying on the ground as they waited for medical assistance. The thousands of people in Halloween costumes contributed to the widespread sense of confusion and chaos. One witness described the scene a police officer shouting during the disaster, but some revealers mistook him for another partygoer. The cause of crash is still under an investigation, though officials said there were no gas leaks or fires on site. The body of the victim being transported to the stretcher in Itaewon, Seoul, South Korea on October 30. Who were the victims? The casualties were young, mostly in their teens and early 20s. Authorities said, known for its nightlife and trendy restaurants, Itaewon is popular among backpackers and international students. Among the 154 deaths were at least 26 foreign nationals, according to authorities, with victims from countries including the United States, China, Iran, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Japan, Australia, Norway, France, Russia, Austria, Vietnam, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan. All but one of the victims have been identified, South Korea's Prime Minister Hancocks said in a briefing on Monday. The toll included 56 men and 97 women, the South Korea's Interior and Safety Ministry reported. South Korea's Ministry of Education said Monday that 6 school students were among the deaths, including one in middle school. 3 teachers also died. As of 5 p.m. local Sunday, 4 a.m. ET, the number of injured had risen to 133, of whom 37 were seriously injured, the ministry said. The Seoul city government said more than 4,000 missing people reports have been received. That number could include multiple reports of the same person or reports filed Saturday night for people who have since been found. Police said there is no active search for those reported missing as they believed no one went missing from the scene. Rather, they said the missing person reports have been used to help identify those who died. Emergency services treated injured people in Seoul on October 30. What was the official response? Lee Sang-min, Minister of the Interior of Safety, said on Sunday that a considerable number of police and security forces had been sent to another part of Seoul on Saturday in response to expected protests there. Meanwhile, in Itaewon, the crowd had not been unusually large, he said, so only a normal level of security forces had been deployed there. As the disaster unfolded Saturday night, more than 1,700 emergency response forces were dispatched, including more than 500 firefighters, 1,100 police officers, and about 70 government workers. President Yoon Suk-yeol called an emergency meeting and urged officials to identify the deaths as soon as possible. But even hours later, families were still waiting to find out if their loved ones survived. Relatives of missing people wept at the Community Service Center on October 30 in Seoul, South Korea. In the immediate aftermath, many people were transported to nearby facilities while bodies were taken to multiple hospital mortuaries. Families gathered at sites near the scene where officers were compiling the names of the missing and deceased. Yoon promised to implement new measures to prevent a similar incident from happening again, saying the government would conduct emergency inspections not only for Halloween events but also for local festivals and thoroughly manage them so they are conducted in an orderly and safe manners. The government will also provide psychological treatment and a fund for families of the deceased and injured. Authorities have declared a national mourning period until November 5th and designated the district of Yongsan-gu, where Itaewon is located, a special disaster area. Flowers are seen at the scene of the deadly accident in Seoul, South Korea, Sunday, October 30, 2022. Questions being asked as a stunned and grieving nation grapples with the tragedy. Questions are also emerging about how such a disaster could have unfolded in a popular area where people are known together. It's hard to pinpoint what might have triggered the crush, but authorities would have anticipated high numbers before Saturday night, said Jalit Kayam, a disaster management expert and the national security analysis for CNN. There is a responsibility on the part of the authorities to be monitoring crowd volume in real time so they can sense the need to get people out, she added. Sua Cho, 23, was caught up in the crowd but managed to escape into the building along the alley. When asked whether she has seen any officers trying to limit the number of people entering the alley, she replied, before the incident, not at all. Another white eyewitness describes the situation getting worse and worse, saying they could hear people asking for help for other people because they were not enough rescuers that can just handle all that.